Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Between multiple moto camping trips and countless adventures, I have definitely put my 2021 CRF300L to the test. Now that I've owned the bike for about 6 months and I've put over 3,600 miles on it, I feel it's time to let you guys in on my thoughts on its performance. I know the riding season is just about to get started for most, so to anybody looking at purchasing a 300L, I hope this helps. Without further ado, let's get into it. If you've watched any other reviews of this bike, then you've definitely heard about the subpar suspension. I don't want to continue to beat off a dead horse, but I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. Now I know manufacturers aren't known for putting the best of the best suspensions on dual sports from the factory, but Honda missed the mark on this one in my opinion. For reference, I'm 170 pounds and I have no problem bottoming out on small jumps. And don't even think about hitting any whoops on the track at a reasonable speed. I have, however, strapped luggage on the back and taken it on a few light moto camping trips, albeit sketchy. I wouldn't recommend taking a setup like this on something like a BDR without first swapping out the rear shock. Luckily, the aftermarket has come to the rescue rather quickly for this bike, so I definitely see a new suspension in my near future. And yes, you also have to take into consideration the price point of this motorcycle. This will be a reoccurring theme. With an MSRP of $5,249 for the 300L without ABS, you can't knock it too hard. I will say the suspension actually handles like a dream on the road, but that's just not what I'm personally looking for in this bike. When I first bought this bike, I was a complete novice when it came to riding off-road. I knew a drop or two was inevitable, that just comes with the territory. Nevertheless, the thought of laying down my brand new motorcycle was enough to make me cringe. Now after a little more than a few drops, I gotta say this little bike was definitely made to last. I have added the necessary stuff such as hand guards, a skid plate, and a radiator guard, which I recommend everybody do, but that's really all you need to purchase in order to have your bases covered. I do see some people add crash bars to the 300L, but I see them as doing more damage than good. After all, there's not much to protect down there. Besides a few minor scuffs here and there, the only major failure I've encountered during a crash was when the handguards got pushed up and ended up stretching out my clutch line. This is no fault of the bike itself, and I was able to fix it on the spot to get me back home, but just a reminder not to cheap out on protective equipment. I now run a quality set of Acerbee's handguards and they seem to be doing their job just fine. When I browse the forums and Facebook groups for this bike, I see a lot of folks mentioning how easy it is to break off the turn signals in a crash. It seems as though I've been lucky as I've kept all my signals intact, but I thought it was worth mentioning as it looks to be a weak point for this bike. To sum up this section, the 300L has taken everything I've thrown at it and has not let me down on any occasion. Don't be afraid to ride this bike how it was meant to be ridden, because rest assured, it can take it. A huge factor for me when it came to buying this bike was Honda's reputation for making the most reliable engines in the game. When you're miles deep into a forest with not the slightest sign of life or phone service for miles around, reliability is what's going to get you back home and not derail your entire trip. Looks and horsepower just don't matter when you're stranded on the side of a trail. Based on everything I've seen, the 300L retains that good old Honda reliability, and much like its predecessor, the 250L, was built to last for years. Like most people, I live a very busy life, so I don't have much time to be hyper-focused on maintaining every little component of a motorcycle. Don't get me wrong, working on your bike can be therapeutic at times, but it's also nice not to have to worry so much. The oil change interval for this bike is every 8,000 miles as recommended by Honda. This seems insane to me, and obviously nobody should ever wait that long, but the fact that this bike can take so much torture speaks volumes. I personally change the oil about every 1,000 miles just to be safe because I hope to have this bike for many more years to come. I plan on changing the air filter and cleaning my bearings next time I have it in the garage, but that's just about all I need to worry about. One thing I see a lot of people talking about in regards to the engine is the infamous 5K rattle. The 5K rattle is a distinctive noise and vibration that most people report occurring at around 5,000 RPMs. Some 300Ls have it and some don't, but the general consensus is that it's nothing to worry about, as there's been no known failures associated with this noise. My bike had it really bad when it was brand new, but over time it's gotten almost unnoticeable. My best guess is that it's just part of the break-in period for the engine. This rattle seems to get more attention than it deserves in my opinion, as it never really bothered me and it eventually goes away on its own. In regards to engine performance, the 300L has a humble 286cc engine putting out around 27 horsepower at the crank. Although every component is either the same or a direct upgrade from the 250L, it's not a fast bike by any means in regards to on-road riding. But don't let this discourage you. Once the road ends and the trail begins, I have no problem keeping up with my buddy's DRZ 400 or any bigger adventure bikes for that matter, especially on technical sections. And in all honesty, I don't need a whole bunch of power to have fun on a motorcycle. I would rather ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. Another thing I believe is worth mentioning is the extremely short first gear. I see many people changing out their sprockets as their first mod due to it being so short. This doesn't bother me too much as I only really use first gear for sticky situations. The 300L is geared perfectly for my type of riding. In conclusion, this motorcycle seems to be as mechanically sound as you would expect from a Honda. You can always modify the little stuff to suit your needs, but the heart of this little machine is strong. With the long service intervals, it's perfect whether you're a casual weekend rider or traveling across the country on back roads. I'm just gonna say it, the stock IRC tires aren't as bad as people make them out to be. Yes, there are absolutely better options out there, but when you compare these tires to stock tires on similar bikes, you really can't complain. Now, I do see two schools of thought when it comes to tires like these. Some say that bad tires can build bad habits and can actually lower your confidence when riding. However, some people believe that tires like these can make you a better rider so that when you do get put in sketchy situations, you have the experience to correct it. I believe it depends on the person, but ultimately I follow the latter statement. For better or for worse, I personally don't tend to lose confidence after a crash, and the amount of sketchy moments I've been forced to work my way out of have absolutely built my skill level up faster than it otherwise would have. That's not to say these are bad tires by any means, but some riders do see them as unfavorable. These IRCs seem to be a true 50-50 tire, which is perfect for me. The road noise is minimal and they actually hook up pretty good when cornering. Not to mention they last forever. This is my rear after 3,600 miles. As you can see, I'm definitely due for a new tire before my next trip, but for now I'm finishing it off with a little urban exploration around town. There are many great options for new tires for this bike, but I'll probably try out the Tusk D-Sport next, as you can't beat the price. To put it simply, this bike with these tires can get you through just about anything straight off the showroom floor. I see very few instances where you must prematurely spend your hard-earned money to swap them out if you don't want to. As a relative beginner, I've gotten through sand, mud, and gravel without issue, so if you have any off-road experience, you should have no problems whatsoever. For me, this 300L was a big purchase. I had never ridden off-road before and wasn't even sure if I'd be able to handle it, or better yet, enjoy it. After half a year of ownership, do I regret this terrible financial decision? Absolutely not. There were many choices to choose from when it came to purchasing a brand new motorcycle. I had a few different dual sports and even some bigger adventure bikes on my list, and surprisingly this little Honda came out on top, and I couldn't be happier. The amount of miles per gallon you get out of this motorcycle is really on a different level compared to others you'll see on the trails. Pretty much all of the downsides I mentioned in this video can be fixed in the aftermarket, and considering the price point, you can't really complain about that. With the money you save by purchasing this bike over its more pricey competitors, you can fine-tune the 300L to fit exactly what you desire. For the more seasoned riders, I'd say you'll probably grow out of this bike relatively quickly. However, for the beginner to intermediate crowd such as myself, I would highly recommend picking up one of these. You won't regret it. I don't see many available in the aftermarket, and that's for a good reason. I see this bike being around for a very long time. Thank you for watching.